Hello and welcome. Today we are going to be taking a look at quite a few new makeup items. We have the YSL Unexplored Garden. I also have the new Koh Gen Do powder. This is called The Powder. We also have the new Hourglass Mascara in brown, the Givenchy highlighter, and all four of the new Valentino Balms. So let's go ahead and we're going to get started. We're going to start off with the powder. So for my base products today, I have on SUQQU the primer and Cle de Peau the foundation in shade I-10. If you're not familiar with this foundation, it's one of those skincare enhanced foundations that has more of a moisturizer kind of texture, and it really it gives more of a light to light medium coverage. So that's what I have on my skin. It gives it a little bit of a dewy effect. So let's just jump to the clips right now, but you can already see the foundation on my skin. We'll take a look at some swatches afterwards, but we're starting off with the Koh Gen Do, the powder, and it comes with a screw top lid. The container is plastic. We have a little puff inside. There is a piece of plastic right on top of the powder, so just something to note there. And then we have a pressed powder in here. As for the packaging, I find having the screw top makes it really easy to throw into a bag. You don't have to worry about it breaking open. However, there's no mirror or anything in here if you were trying to do touch-ups on the go. And to keep here my vanity, I'd rather not have to unscrew it. I actually would prefer just a regular push closure like we have on their other powder, which we will be comparing in just a second. The new Koh Gen Do powder retails for $106 US. It's made in Japan. We have 5 grams of product, or 0.176 ounces. This appears to be a refillable product because we do have the hole in the bottom to pop out the pan. Typically, Koh Gen Do will glue their pans in, so this is not going to be a magnetic product still. However, I do not see any refills available for sale quite yet. According to Koh Gen Do, this is an around-the-clock beauty powder, all day, every day, infused with 99% skincare. It says, unlock long-lasting hydration with every layer of our skincare powder. Its silky, soft texture melts into your skin, leaving it feeling luxuriously hydrated. This serum-like beauty powder is crafted from premium skincare ingredients, ceramides and amino acids, and enriched with traditional Japanese and Chinese plants. Use the powder as a daytime skincare setting powder to avoid SPF stickiness and as a makeup base. Use the powder to block environmental aggressors like pollen and dust and to guard against dehydration. Use the powder to lock in your nighttime skincare regimen, or use alone on bare skin to smooth and blur imperfections. The powder does it all: hydrates, smooths, protects, and perfects morning, night, and every moment in between. Just like other Koh Gen Do products, this is made without talc, artificial colors, synthetic fragrance, mineral oil, parabens, alcohol, and it's cruelty-free, vegan, and gluten-free. Now, in contrast, one of my favorite powders is the new pressed powder that came out from Koh Gen Do last year. Now, with this product, we have a click closure case versus the screw top. It retails for $96 US for the refill, and we have 12 grams or 0.46 ounces of product. So with this, you will have to purchase the case separately. Now, the major difference between these two products is that the powder is essentially pressed dry powder skincare ingredients, so it's not necessarily just a makeup item. This can be used all the time to help with your skincare, to get the texture and blur that you might want, whether you have makeup on or not. It can also help kind of lock in your nighttime skincare ingredients to prevent them, obviously if you're going to rub your face on your pillow, you're still going to be able to move things, but it can help lock in some of those products. So that's the new powder, but the previous pressed powder, that is essentially going to be a skincare makeup item. This powder gives you a soft focus, kind of a blurred effect with a little bit of luminosity, so you don't have that dry matte look. And really, it sinks and blends into the skin to give you the most natural look, not powdery at all. It's also described as a serum-like powder and is meant to help kind of lock in what you already have on your face while still kind of blending with the skin. So if you use repeated applications throughout the day, then you still don't get any sort of powdery finish or anything like that. It's going to kind of just stay beautiful on your skin. Now with the previous, the pressed powder, so we have the pressed powder and we have the powder. The pressed powder is the older one. And with that, I really like to use a light fluffy brush, tap that off and give a light dusting on the skin. I think it just blends in beautifully. With the powder, I think this is a really beautiful product as well. But I think this one, the beauty is with using the puff. And I don't typically like to use puffs. I find them, I just prefer brushes because they're easier to clean and I will clean them more frequently than I would with a puff. So that's a personal preference, but I think the finish on this is just stunning with the puff. I think it definitely just really kind of enhances that look. Between the two powders side by side on the skin, my personal opinion is that they look pretty similar to each other. I feel like there's slightly more of a natural radiance that shines through with the pressed powder, while the new powder is just slightly more matte. And I think they're both beautiful products, and I think it really just depends what you're going for. For my personal purposes, I'm going to use both of these as a regular face powder. I'm not really interested in a powder product to use like at night to seal in my skincare and things like that. So for me personally, I won't use it for those. I appreciate that they made something like that because I know it will definitely help certain people, with certain skin types. Back when I was younger and my skin was oilier and I had acne issues, something like this to really kind of seal in certain treatments would have been something that I would have used a lot. Now at this age, for me, it's just going to be a regular makeup powder. So between the two, I would probably still veer towards the pressed powder, which I like that slightly more because we do have a little bit of that lilac in there. So I feel like it does add a little bit more brightness to my skin. But it's really just going to come down to personal preference. I think they're both great. I don't think you can really go wrong with either one. And although we do have a price difference based on the mass of the products, it's hard to determine specifically what the volume is of these. Overall, I think they are both great products. So let's take a look at just a couple swatches here. So again, this is the original. And when I am using the puff, I like to get plenty of product on it, kind of tap off any excess and do the press and roll method on my skin. I think that is the best way to apply this. Texturally, this has a nice kind of a creamy powder texture. It's like a creamy velvety powder, very silky in texture, but not as there's definitely some hydration to this. You can tell that it's basically like a dried out lotion moisturizer type product. So this is it. And you can see you do get a really nice radiance. We'll put another swatch right here that we don't blend out. So this is the new powder. And this is the pressed powder. And let's kind of separate these shades here. So here is our purple versus our white. And you can see the white shades are going to be pretty similar, but we have just a little bit more opacity with the pressed powder. This is the two shades mixed together. I just feel color-wise, this one works a little bit better on me because it adds some brightening. And let me just go ahead and I'll squeeze this in down here and just kind of buff that. So you can see this one just kind of cools things off just slightly more. But they're both going to be pretty translucent, and between the two, I can feel more hydration, more moisture when swatching this. On the actual skin, you're using such a small amount, I don't really notice a difference. So let's go ahead and move on to the new Givenchy Prisme Libre highlighter. This is limited edition, and this is shade number 16. You can see we have a denim top with the Givenchy logo on here. And this does come with a cute little puff, which personally for me with the highlighters, well, actually with the blushes either, I don't use the little puffs, but it is nice. I think they're super cute. So I will use them for different purposes, but not for these. So this is a highlighter in 16. And you can't, it's really kind of difficult to separate the shades. So we're just going to keep them mixed together. This is it kind of blended out. So you can see it's definitely fairly shimmery. Let's take a look at these cheek swatches here. And in the first swatch on the right side, I'm using a Koyodo brush from Yoshiki, and this is going to be more of a dense highlighter brush, so you can see you really pick up a lot of product. You get a high shine, high shimmer finish. This definitely has some micro glitter in it. And then on the left, I'm using the rougher fan brush, which gives you a softer, lighter, airier finish. It's not going to look so glittery, but you do have a little bit of a sheen. As for the actual color of this, we're looking at more of a very soft pink ivory shade with more of a silver micro glitter in here. So it's going to lean on the cooler side. This is definitely going to be more of a cooler toned highlighter. The highlighter is available on the Givenchy US website. It's limited edition. We have 2 different colors here, 4 quadrants at 1.5 grams each for a total of 6 grams. Retails for $48 US, and we have a 1-year shelf life. The highlighter is made in Italy, and according to Givenchy, they describe the combination of the 2 shades as a radiant peachy champagne. I would say it's definitely more of a soft neutral pink ivory shade. So it's basically a shimmery ivory with a touch of a neutral pink in there. But I would say because of that ivory running a little bit cool, it's definitely going to be a cool tone shade. So let's take a look at a couple comparisons. Again, this is number 16. So I can see where they're saying, you know, it kind of looks like a peachy pink. But when you actually swatch it, it really doesn't. So let's take a look at a couple comparisons. We have number 14 here, which, you know, is going to be probably the closest one that I have from Givenchy. And this one, we'll put this one right underneath. You can see this is going to be a warmer version. So we have a similar, it's a similar highlighter. It's just warmer versus cooler. So this is going to have a bit more of that peachy look to it, in my opinion. It's more of a nude champagne. This one here was number 11. This one is going to be a pink highlighter shade. And this, it's a really pretty pink shade. We'll put this one all the way over here, but you can see it's definitely much more intense. You can even, I can use this as a shimmery blush if I want, but it's going to be pretty pink. And the last one I wanted to share is number 15, which just came out a few months ago, and it made it into my mid-year favorites. This is a beautiful, more of a coral champagne shade. And let's just go ahead and we're going to swatch this one right here in the middle. And you can see this is more of that peachy pink kind of shade there. So one more time, we have 16. This is 15, 11, and 14. Now I just wanted to compare a few other highlighters, so I'm going to swatch this one more time. This time we're going to do this on my arm instead of my hand. So this is the Givenchy in 16. This is the YSL in number 1, Libertine Light. There, and you can see that this is going to be a bit more white to it. Gucci 01, this is Sunrise Gold. This really has more of a pink gold flip to it. This is Tom Ford Rose Iris, and this is one of my favorites. I mean, you can't even tell, but I use this one still all the time. You can see this is definitely going to be more pink, and it's going to be a bit warmer. This is Cle de Peau number 17, Celestial Sparks, which used to be called Lavender. And you can see this is going to be a bit more blue toned. And then this one is the Dior in number 6, Opal Sequin. This is going to be much more glittery here. You can see that's basically more of a glitter topper. So I hope that was helpful. So one more time, this is Givenchy in 16. This is YSL in number 1, Libertine Light. This is Gucci 01, Sunrise Gold. This is Tom Ford Rose Iris. This one here is going to be the Cle de Peau number 17. And then we have Opal Sequin from Dior. So let's go ahead and move on to the YSL quad. All right, so we've got our new YSL quad in 830 Unexplored Garden, and this is basically a neutral khaki eyeshadow palette. So our first shade here is going to be a sparkle topper, and you can see here that this is really going to be more of a soft green. I'm going to do double swatches here, like side by side, just so you can kind of see the product. And what I want to show you is when the light hits it a certain way, it kind of disappears. And then when you get the light hitting another way, you really have that green. It's almost like a bright spring green kind of shimmer to it. Next up, we have a matte shade here, and this is going to be a nude brown. And this brown has a touch of rosiness to it. Now I have to say this shade is incredibly creamy, very, very great texture here. And then we have kind of this khaki olive green here. And this is going to be another matte shade. And then our last shade here is a green shimmer. Now, I do want to note that this shade, to show up best on the eyes, I recommend a fingertip application. You'll see in the eye demos, but sometimes when you're using the brush with this, it doesn't show up quite as much. It's definitely a much softer pigmentation level than with your finger. So if you really want to get this beautiful shimmer from it, I'd recommend using a fingertip application. So let's take a look at the eye swatches and the demos. The YSL quad retails for $68 US. It's been going in and out of stock on Nordstrom, and it should be coming to the YSL US site soon. It is available in other countries already. We have 4 grams of product, a 2-year shelf life, and it's made in Italy. It does come with 2 utensils inside. We have a mirror and a clip closure. So YSL has recently released 4 new quads. We have Captivating Dunes, which I have previously reviewed. It's a beautiful cooler tone neutral option, comparable to Stora Dolls, but on the cooler side. Then there's also Sunrise Safari and Majestic Riad, which I do not have. And then the new Unexplored Garden, which is a stunning set of neutral shadows with a touch of green. And one of the things I really love about this palette is that it is neutral. So a lot of times when we see green eyeshadow palettes from different brands, we'll see something that is overwhelmingly green, or all the greens are really more of a teal because they have such a blue base to them, or they're more of a yellow because they're much more chartreuse-like. And this one, I feel like we have a nice balance. We have a nice bright spring green with a bit of yellow in it for the sparkle topper, which can really transform any of the shades. We've got a great, kind of mauvey brown base here. And then we also have kind of a nice matte army green with a bit of warmth to it, as well as a cooler tone green shimmer that is really more of a cross between mint and forest green. So this will be a cooler tone green. So I love the fact that we have different tones in here, but none of them are really screaming like a deep dark green that's hard to work with. These are all very easy to use. The textures go on beautifully. And, just like we've seen with other YSL quads, the sparkle toppers, they can be a little bit loose. So you definitely want to tap off any excess because they can be a little messy. These matte shades, particularly this brown matte, they are just so creamy. It's definitely a cream to powder texture here. And it's velvety. It's a beautiful base shade regardless of the palette you're working with. I think it's a really nice shade and one that should be sold as a single. I find the brown to be slightly creamier than the green matte, although I feel like on the eyes you can't tell the difference. But when I'm using like a finger swatch, I feel like the brown is ever so slightly creamier. As I mentioned with the green shimmer shade, the last shade there, this is one that I feel like you definitely get significantly more payoff with a fingertip application. I feel like with the brush with this one, you don't see as much of that beautiful shimmer in here. So if you really want to see the beauty of that shade, I'd recommend using a fingertip application, and it layers beautifully with the other shades. And I just really love how these 4 shades play with each other. So let's go ahead and move on to some comparisons. And I've had quite a few requests for comparisons from you guys. So let's get started. We're going to start off with the new Guerlain Emerald Feather. So this is in the newest Guerlain collection here. And we're just going to do some vertical swatches here to kind of keep track of what's what. And And you can see here that this is going to be a more yellow green than the ones that we have here in Unexplored Garden. This one's definitely more of a spruce, more of a blue green here. And then these other two shades don't really go with anything in the YSL palette. Now I had a request for the new Lisa Eldridge palette, which I did not purchase, but I do have Sorcery. So we're going to take a look at this one here. And again, we'll just do some small swatches of this one here. These shades, they're not really going to go. This is our closest, but you can see it has a much more golden top to it, overcoat comparatively. This is the best shade in Sorcery. You can see it's that beautiful shimmer here. And this one here is a little bit more of a bluer version to the last shimmer shade. It's actually going to be a bit more gray, and just trying to fit in the last shade here, which is going to be a deep, this is more of a teal. So it's actually more of a blue. So we've got like a royal blue there. So that is a Sorcery palette from Lisa Eldridge. Let's take a look at Chanel Blurry Green. And I'm going to put this one right up here at the top here. And you can see that these first two shades, they're going to be more pigmented. They're deeper. This second shade here has more brown in it than green. And this last shade is going to be close to this matte shade here, but we have more of a satin here. And this is going to be a bit more of a blue green than those in Unexplored Garden. So that is Blurry Green from Chanel. And then this is Byredo Mineralscapes. So let's go ahead. We're going to pick the green shades here from the top. I'm going to kind of swatch these here so we can kind of get an idea. And you can see this is actually going to be a brown here. I just want to include that because I do think mixing these two together kind of gives you that effect of this last shade here. This is the green from the bottom row, which is going to be much softer. So you can see we can still get some similar tones. Let's see how this shade compares to the base. You can see it's going to be more shimmery and a little bit more rose. So our green hues from the Mineralscapes do have some similarities with those in the YSL Unexplored Garden. I wouldn't say any of them are dupes, but they're probably the closest that we've seen so far. And then we have Isamaya Industrial. So this one here, let's go ahead. We're going to pick out these green shades here. So we got these top two. And this is one of those like reflective topper shades. This one has that gold overcoat to it, top coat. We're going to take a look at this one here and then this green. You can see this becomes more brown. It is warmer than the brown here in the base, and this is going to be a nice bright spring green. Now for Industrial 2.0, we're going to take a look at this one and this one here. Now this first shade here is going to be more of a duochrome, and you see although you get some greenish hues in the pan, it's really going to be more orange and gold. This is a bright spring green. This is more similar to the shade that we have in this topper in the YSL palette. Now this shade here is more of an iridescent topper shade from Industrial 2.0, and let's see how that compares. You can see it's going to be a bit more blue than that in the YSL. It's also going to be it's more of a creamier glitter that becomes more opaque just based on the formula there. So I hope those were helpful. So one more time, this here is YSL Unexplored Garden. Up here we have Chanel Blurry Green. This is from Isamaya Industrial 2.0. These are from Byredo Mineralscapes. Then we have Isamaya Industrial and 2.0 down here. This is going to be Emerald Feather from Guerlain, and this is Lisa Eldridge Sorcery. Let's go ahead and move on to the Hourglass Mascara. This is the Hourglass Unlocked Instant Extensions Mascara, and previously it only came in black. They just released a new brown shade called Espresso. So this is the shade Espresso, and I have to say I really love this shade of brown because it's more of a neutral brown. A lot of the mascaras we've seen that have been coming out in brown are more reddish. So this is going to be more neutral. And we'll definitely take a look at some comparisons, but first let's move on to the demos. This mascara retails for $33 US. We have 0.35 ounces or 10 grams of product. And there's a 6-month shelf life, which is standard for mascaras. It is made in the United States with globally sourced materials. This is a tubing mascara, and according to Hourglass, it's a transformative tubing mascara that wraps and stretches each lash to deliver dramatic length, lift, and definition for the look of lash extensions in an instant. The revolutionary custom design instant extension bristle brush envelops every lash, coating even the hardest to reach for weightless, fanned out, eye-opening lift. Powered by lightweight fibers that lock in place for up to 16 hours of smudge-proof, flake-free wear. It is vegan and cruelty-free, and Hourglass donates 5% of net profits from all unlocked products to the Non-Human Rights Project, which is the only organization in the US working to secure civil rights for non-human animals. Now, as for the mascara itself, I've used the Hourglass Unlocked Mascara. I think it's a really nice tubing mascara. I don't really think it gives as much oomph as I think of with lash extensions. I think it gives a little bit more of a natural vibe, but it definitely gives you these nice fanned out, defined lashes, and there's a little bit more of that fluffy, feathery look to it. As for the new brown, I really like this new espresso shade. I think this is one of the better brown mascaras that have come out recently. I only have 2 other brown mascaras open at the moment, so let's go ahead and take a look at how those shades compare. This is the Lisa Eldridge Kitten Lash Mascara in Burnt Umber, which came out not too long ago. So this is a nice brown, but you can see it looks cooler in tone when it's really built up, but it's more of a reddish brown, and it definitely looks warmer on the eyelashes. I get a little bit more of a cayenne scented, you know, kind of like chili pepper chocolate. So that's kind of more what we get with the Lisa Eldridge. This is definitely gonna be more neutral. The other brown one that I have out right now is a course from Chanel. This is the Le Volume de Chanel, which was recently reformulated, and this is going to be a bit more of a cooler tone brown. And this is still currently my favorite brown mascara shade right now. I also really like the YSL Lash Clash in brown. But I would say that the Hourglass is a great neutral. It's also a little bit lighter, so for me, I think it's like a really awesome daytime mascara. It's going to give a nice bit of volume. It gives great performance throughout the daytime. If I were going out for something a little bit more, a little fancier, I'd probably go with something a little bit more volumizing and perhaps a bit deeper. So if I wanted to stick with brown, I'd probably go with the Chanel, but most likely I'd switch to a black mascara then. So I hope that was helpful. Now let's go ahead and move on to the Valentino lip balms. And we have more of this pale pink spike packaging here. So I purchased all 4 of the shades and I really like them. I've been testing them out. You'll see I've actually, let me show you. This one here was one that I only did a lip swatch of for this video. So you can see how much is in the tube here. It's pretty full. And this is our full tube length. And just to show you a couple days worth of use of this one by comparison, this is how much I've used. And so you can see how much gets used with application. So this has been, I don't know, maybe four applications or so with the coral versus just 1 from this rose shade. So let's go ahead and we're going to swatch all of these and then we'll take a look at the lip swatches. Our first shade here is 120R, which is called Rose in the Woods. I'm just going to go ahead and put these on my hand here. And we've got a sheer layer and then one built up. And you can see this is going to be a soft, more of a neutral rose shade. It's a really pretty pink on the lips. Our next shade here is going to be 302R Extra Pink. This is going to be a cooler tone pink. You can see it looks like it's going to be more of a bright pink. And it is in a sense, but none of these, they're all very muted shades overall. Essentially, the biggest difference is the rose is going to be warmer and the extra pink will be a little bit cooler. This one here is 400A. This is Solar Coral and it looks orange in the tube, but on the lips, it really does give more of a soft coral look to it. So you can see when you swatch this, it's definitely more of a orangey, peachy kind of shade. And then the last one, which is what is on my lips right now, this is 199A Bold Brown. This is a really beautiful brown. So I love this. It is like a mix of eggplant and cocoa, but way more muted. And so it's going to be a cooler tone shade there. So we have two shades that are on the warmer side of the spectrum, the rose and the coral. The extra pink and the bold brown are going to be on the cooler end. Let's take a look at the lip swatches. Just like the Valentino Spike lipsticks, these do have a magnetic closure. The packaging is the same aside from the color. So we have that soft pink packaging. These are refillable. Refills retail for $30 US. The full packaging retails for $42 US. And these are the 4 shades that are currently available. We have 1.9 grams of product. These are going to be made in France, and there is a 2-year shelf life. Now, according to Valentino, it says, discover Disco Balm, a buttery, pH-reactive tinted lip balm designed to nourish, enhance, and reflect your natural lip tone with a luminous, light-catching glow. With every swipe, Disco Balm melts into lips for a soft, supple finish, delivering long-lasting moisture, buildable color, and a sheer multi-dimensional shine. Infused with Valentino's caring blend of squalane, shea butter, and ceramides, this formula comforts dry lips while enhancing your natural tone with adaptive glow-boosting color. The result? Lips that feel ultra-nourished and look naturally radiant. So as you're looking at the shades, you can see, that there's a little bit of that pH reactive tone that you can kind of get from these. I wouldn't say any of these turn bright pink. Even the extra pink shade still stays a bit more muted than you might see with other pH reactive products. The one that really demonstrates the pH adaptation is the coral shade, because again, it's more of that orange shade in the tube and even when you first swatch it, but on the lips as it sits there, it turns into a really beautiful soft coral, and it's a really wearable shade. I feel like the bold brown, as that one reacts on your lips, it turns into more of a soft rosewood. So really what I see when these have been on my lips for a little while, we've got Rose in the Woods, which turns into a soft neutral pink that leans a little warm. Extra pink is more of a soft cool tone pink, with a little bit of a natural brightness from those cooler tones in there. There's a little bit more blue in the base there. Then we have the Solar Coral, which turns into a really pretty soft coral shade, and the bold brown turns into a really beautiful cooler rosewood. And I think these are great texturally. These are soft and buttery. They feel like a buttery lip balm. The closest comparison that I can make are actually the Guerlain lip balms. All right, so let's take a look at the Guerlain Be Glow Balms, and these are one of my favorites. I've loved them since they came out several years ago. I've gone through a couple tubes of the Blossom and the Lavender Glow, and then just last year they came out with some pearly versions. So we're going to take a look at some of these. Between the Guerlain and the Valentino, just so you can see the packaging side by side here, the Valentino is going to be a bit slimmer and taller. We have magnetic closure versus a click closure on the Guerlain. Now, just to note here that we have 1.9 grams in the Valentino, while we have 3.2 in the Guerlain. So just a little bit of a difference there in the amount of product that you're getting. This is going to be shade 309 Honey Glow from Guerlain. We're going to put this one right here, just so you can kind of see that one. And you can see it's going to be softer. It's a little bit more pink actually than the Solar Coral. And it's a really pretty, soft peachy shade. This is 458 Pop Rose Glow. And I wanted to see how this one compared to the extra pink. You can see the extra pink is going to be a little bit cooler in tone than the Guerlain. Now, in terms of texture between the Guerlain and the Valentino, the Guerlain are also a nice buttery balm, but they're not quite as soft as the Valentino. Valentino's a little bit of a softer product overall, so it's a little bit more buttery. So if you are thinking of actual butter, the Guerlain feels a little bit firmer Then the Valentino. The Valentino is more like your butter that has been sitting on the counter for 2 hours versus 1 hour for the Guerlain. So that's kind of your difference there between them. This one here is Pearly Peony, which is $5.58. So the pearly shades have a little bit of shimmer in them. You can see this is going to be a warmer pink here. And it is not, it's definitely warmer. We don't have as much of that neutral rose shade that we have in the Rose in the Woods. This is $8.78 Pearly Dahlia. I wanted to see how this compared to the Bold Brown, and you can see that the Pearly Dahlia has a bit more of a burgundy note to it versus a purple note. 409 Fuchsia Glow, and let's see, we're gonna put this one up here so we can kind of get an idea of how that compares. It is a cooler tone pink. It's not as bright as the extra pink though. The level of pigmentation is more similar to that of Rose in the Woods, but it's cooler in tone like extra pink. And I would say there's perhaps just a little bit more blue in the Guerlain versus the Valentino for that particular shade. Then we have 319 Peach Glow, which again looks like the Solar in the tube, but this one will stay more peachy on the lips. So this is really more of a soft peach. 129 Blossom Glow. This is one of my favorites. It's a soft rosewood. You can see that it is definitely going to be warmer than the pink shades here, or well, any of them really. And then we have 258 Rose Glow, which is actually just their regular pH adaptive shade. So this will turn a soft rosy pink, and this is going to be closest to Rose in the Woods. It's slightly cooler than Rose in the Woods, but I would say that they are going to be the closest shades. So I hope that has been helpful. Let me know what you think. Let's do a quick summary of everything we talked about today. So we started off with the new Koh Gen Do, the powder. And again, this is really more of a powder skincare product versus a traditional makeup powder. You can use this as a makeup powder, which is how I will be using it. However, you can also use this any time of the day to help lock in your skincare, add a little blur. And, you know, I think it's a nice concept, but I'm going to use it basically as makeup. So for me, it's going to be pretty similar then to the pressed powder. I do really like both of these. I think they give a beautiful finish. And I think this one looks best applied with the puff. You got a really nice matte finish there that blends in with the skin. You don't see any actual powder on the skin. It feels like a hydrating powder. So I think it's a really nice product. And then we moved on to the Givenchy highlighter in shade 16. I think this is a really pretty highlighter. For the Givenchy highlighters in general, I prefer to use a lighter hand. They can be very sparkly if you go in with a more dense brush. So my personal go-to is typically going to be a fan brush, and I tend to use the Refer 20 brush the most with the Givenchy highlighters. I think this is a really pretty shade here, and it is more of a pinkish ivory shade. So the pink warms it up a little bit, but the ivory is cooler. Overall, it's going to be a cooler tone highlighter. Then we took a look at the YSL Unexplored Garden, which I think is a really great neutral khaki eyeshadow palette. What I love about it is we've got neutrals, we've got greens, but we have greens being used as neutrals. So it's not going to be an in-your-face green palette. And we have cooler tone and warmer tone greens incorporated in here with a variety of finishes. So I think it's a really great versatile quad, and I'm very happy with this one. I think it's a beautiful palette. Then we took a look at the new Hourglass Mascara in the brown. I think it's a really nice neutral brown. I think it's a great daytime mascara. I don't think there's quite enough oomph for, like, you know, nighttime, date night kind of situation, but I think it's great for daily wear. It's a tubey mascara, which makes it really work well during the summertime heat as well. So I think it's a nice product, and definitely no regrets. This is one I'll probably repurchase in the future. It's a great brown. Then we took a look at the new Valentino Balms, and I picked up all 4 of the shades of the Spike Balms. They are pH adaptive, but it's not your traditional pH adaptive where everything turns fuchsia pink. So, you know, I think all of the shades look really beautiful on, and I love I love all four of them. I can't actually pick a favorite shade. I think they all have their benefits. I love the texture of these. They're soft, creamy, and buttery like the Guerlain, a little bit more buttery than the Guerlain Bee Glow, and not quite as soft as the Sarah Creel Balms, which are just a little bit softer texturally. And these are perhaps a little bit glossier. You know, there's a little bit more of that glossy texture to them comparatively. So I think they are great balms. Very happy with them, and I'm happy to see that they're refillable. And I personally love the Valentino Spike packaging. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these products. Let me know if you've tried any of these or you're interested in trying them. And thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you very soon.